morning, beautiful humans. It's drizzling rain here this morning, and it is such a cozy Sunday morning to sit with you with a cup of chai. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes before I begin just to see if anyone lands. I'm going to go for a walk after this and have a nice leisurely stroll in the spitting rain. It's been a beautiful reprieve after the fires that have happened locally. So I'm very excited to share this convo with you around allowing the body to speak. I had so many roses and so much feedback of people wanting to learn more about this conversation. So please join in, please comment. I want to know what you'd like to learn. This is one of my favorite topics of all time, is the connection between the body and our emotions, as well as our mental state as well, and how we can integrate them all beautifully so we can thrive as humans. So I'm just going to wait a little bit longer. For anyone who's joining live, hi. Thanks so much for sitting with me on this Sunday morning for a cuppa and a chinwag. I'd like to do these more regularly, actually. I get a little bit nervous doing these lives. I'm really comfortable in my online spaces, but doing them on a platform that's open definitely brings up some nerves in my stomach. So if you've got a cuppa or a drink handy, I would recommend that you sit down with one and we can connect over this conversation and ask anything that you'd like to know. And I'll do my best to answer it. Alrighty. I've got my cup of chai. It's my go-to sticky masala chai of choice. It definitely speaks to my body. I love it so much. So before I begin, I just want you to take a breath where you are. I just want you to take a long breath in. Hold at the top for a moment and then just exhale all the way out with a sigh. And I just want you to land here with me for a moment, whether you're watching live or whether you're coming on later and watching the replay. Either way, I don't mind. I could talk about this conversation to anyone, anywhere. So what does allow the body to speak mean? Allowing the body to speak is being attuned and aware of what is going on in your body at any given time. Most of the time, we're attuned to our body when it is showing us pain. The most common thing I see, not only in my career behind the chair, but in my sporting field, everything that I've done through movement in my life, is that the body speaks louder when we're not listening. And the reason that it does that is because there are all these signs and signals that it reveals to us prior, but most of the time we're too busy. People are numbing, disassociating, avoiding being with themselves. There's a whole range of ways in which humans, doesn't matter the type, humans in general, generally don't listen to their body, but also don't allow themselves to tune in deeper, because the world's not set up like that. Society teaches us to disconnect. Society teaches us to scroll and numb through our phone, to emotional eat, to flog our body rather than listening to it if it needs to go slower, which can result in injury. We push and push and push and add more to our workload until the point of burnout. There's so many ways that society has set us up really not to be attuned and really not to listen to the subtleties of our body. So my favorite thing to teach and speak about through personal experience, which I'll share some stories as well, is that the body's always speaking. It's always giving us physiological cues, whether that's we're hungry, whether that's we're tired. They're just your simple factors, whether we're thirsty. Those physiological cues are really important. And I teach a lot of that even in just the basics of my work, which is around structuring a morning routine, or whether that's creating ritual in your day. It's why I believe snippets of ritual is so important. So the reason that's important is because it allows us to tune inward rather than externally. And in a very fast-paced world, in a very instant gratification world, what I've learnt in my time on this planet, in my very, very few years on the planet, is that the body is always speaking to us, and if we miss signs, then it's going to give us bigger signs. It's going to give us lessons to grow. It is going to stop us in our tracks, and it is going to continually reveal the ways in which we're not attuned and we're not in alignment. So what does that look like? How does that work in the body? So I'm going to share a personal story of when I first stumbled across this, and I was actually quite young. I'm going to share a story from when I was in high school, but I believe it happened I was more attuned prior to this, but definitely significant when I was in my late teens. So I finished high school back in 2008, and during my final year of high school, I had a chronic cough. It was like this bark that was so profound, and it was, you could hear me across the schoolyard. I actually ended up in hospital in grade 12 with this chronic cough. They were trying to diagnose me with asthma and give me puffers, all this stuff that was not working. And it got to the point one day that I started Googling and researching the different connections and a more holistic approach to the body, because I was going through a pretty tough time at school. There was some relational things going on in the schoolyard that were really stressful for me. And basically my body was responding to that. So what I come to learn later on, about probably when I was 18, is that in traditional Chinese medicine, the lungs hold grief. So the energy and emotion of grief stores in the lungs, and I was experiencing a constant cough. As soon as I finished high school, that cough went away. But during grade 12, that was probably one of the most stressful years that I have experienced. And that cough was revealing the ways in how much grief I was going through. That was one example. That also happened when I was 23, when I lived in London. I ended up burning out with adrenal and chronic fatigue, and my body was spent. I was not listening. I was not attuned. It was always giving me signs, but in a very fast-paced city. This country girl was definitely out of her depth. I loved the experience, but my body was trying to tell me to slow down, to listen, to become more attuned, and I was ignoring it pretty heavily. So they were two really significant experiences. I've had so many other ones, whether it comes to injuries through sport or, any different types of symptoms that happen. So what I've learnt over the years is that when the body speaks, I listen. And I don't listen when it gets to a point of an injury. I listen prior. In saying that, I did have a calf muscle injury a couple of weeks ago, which was very significant to what I was moving through emotionally at the time. So when we actually start to attune to these things, so an example would be if you've been through something in your life that is particularly, like you've had an injury, you've had burnout, you've had a particular ailment, or it's in a particular part of the body, what I would suggest that you do is you actually write this down and do some self-reflection and self-awareness. The reason for this is how you begin. You start to actually attune to the subtle ways that your body is already speaking to you. It will always speak to you. The way that you do this is start to attune to the area of the body. So, for example, when I was in I had that chronic cough, and it was in my lungs and chest and throat. It was so much that I wanted to speak and say when I was going through that experience in late high school, that it was all getting stuck in this particular channel, in this particular energy center. And it was showing in a physical symptom. So, for instance, say you've had a knee injury. Say you have stomach issues. Write down what that is and actually start to reflect on what you were going through emotionally at the time. That is the first and most basic way to become more attuned to your body, because you're becoming aware of what's going on. I'm going to be doing a little segment weekly, and I'm going to take you through a body scan this week, sometime this week. If not, you can go back and watch my previous one from last Wednesday. But when you start becoming attuned to the body, is simply being present with. And that can be present with really hard emotions. That can be present with when you feel uncomfortable, when you're in pain. Presence is the number one key that I can offer you in becoming more attuned to your body. And it's also where I started. It's also where we've all come from. And more often than not, we forget to do that when we're busy in a fast-paced world. It's uncomfortable. We don't want to feel our feelings. And feeling our feelings fully is a whole other ball game. But becoming aware first, then becoming aligned, and then truly mastering the art of feeling your feelings masterfully is the key. So the reason that this builds self-esteem and self-confidence is because you're actually building inner trust. When you start to attune to your body and listen to what it's saying, is you actually build a trust with self, which actually brings personal power. So when we start to build this relationship of trust to the body, you're building this inner communion that actually allows you to take a seat back and settle into yourself in a way that is peaceful. Because when you can learn to sit with yourself, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're experiencing, no matter what you're feeling, you can build a relationship that you've got that you can hold yourself, which therefore builds self-worth. And most of my work, no matter what container it's in, whether it's my memberships or in person or my speaking events, it's really about allowing you to giving you tools to become more attuned, you becoming in your own alignment, and being able to feel your feelings to come to your own conclusions. Because no one knows you better than you. No one knows your body better than you. No one knows nobody can take away your level of inner sovereignty and your inner connection to self. And I know that part of my life's work is based on the things that I've experienced and based on the ways that I've grown, is to teach people to become more attuned to their body, therefore their emotions, therefore their mind, therefore their energy. And when you can become attuned to those 4 parts of yourself, you can thrive, you can adapt, you can become more holistically. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining. You can become more accepting and more forgiving to yourself. And I think the art form and the artistry of being allowing the body to speak to you comes in the most subtle ways. What I love about this conversation is that the body will never not speak to you. It is your best friend. It is this vessel, this part of yourself that's going to be with you for life. And being able to reflect, attune, and act upon the ways in which your body's speaking. So an example of that would be, say you're getting really, really tired a lot, and you're getting symptoms of fatigue every day. You're waking up every morning and you're still tired, even if you're sleeping well. Your body's speaking to you that there's still a type of fatigue going on. You might get all the physical rest, but is your emotional body really stressed? Is your energetic body really stressed? Or is your mental plane really struggling to find calm and peace? So I believe this is like a holistic approach of 4 pillars. But I want you to reflect on a time in your life where you had a symptom and it was subtle and you ignored it and the symptom got worse. And then I want you to reflect on what were you going through emotionally at the time and how did it affect your mental state? So this is going to be a written exercise, like write, journal. This is one of the most beautiful ways to self-reflect, is writing things down. Also the same with if you're wanting to create new things or you desire to be in a new aspect or way of being in your life, is writing things down. And then I want you to become aware of how it affected your whole energy, your whole state of being, your whole soul, how you showed up in the world. Because we have these experiences in life that are revealing to us constantly ways in which we can become more of who we are. And becoming more of who we are means that we actually have to be attuned to that, not disconnected, not scrolling on Instagram, seeing what everyone else is doing, not flogging our body when it wants a gentle walk, not feeding our body something, but it actually wants something else. Like the extent to which our body is speaking to us is something I can't actually put into words. It's why I take people on the beautiful journeys and the beautiful spaces that I hold, is because it's about experiencing you in a way that you feel more connected. And even if that is moving grief through the body, even if that is moving anger through the body, the level of self-awareness that you can come to when you start to sit with yourself more and listen. I think most of the time people aren't listening, which is something that you can learn to do. And it's really important, I believe, in the world right now that we have more people connected to their body. We have more people connected to who they are, and they're listening to the ways in which their body's speaking. And when we start to listen to the ways in which our body is speaking, not when we just get into a point of physical pain or injury, but into the subtleties that are the signs of emotions or an intuitive nudge or, the symptom before the pain, we can actually start to make different choices which allow us to show up better in our life. So if anybody has any questions, you can pop them below. If you have something that's been going on for you, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, pop them here later and I will endeavor to get back to you. But allowing the body to speak to you is a form of not disconnecting and creating more connection, creating more love with yourself, creating more attunement. And I hope this has supported you. I'd like to do these more regularly. So if you have any questions, I can pop them below, and I can always pop them in another live in the next couple of weeks. So before we go, I just want you to take another breath with me. Breathe in through the nose, nice and long and deep. And breathe out through the mouth. And just notice what's going on in your body. Maybe you have tense shoulders. Maybe your jaw's a little tight. Maybe you need to wiggle your toes. And I just want you to be in your body for a moment. And from this space, just notice what it's speaking to you. And you can stay here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you like. And then journal and write some of the things that it's speaking and saying to you right now. But I hope you have a beautiful Sunday. I will see you next week for a Be in Your Body practice. And I hope wherever you are that you have a gorgeous day.